Welcome to Uncensored Conservatism. This is episode number 341. And today we're going to take a look at some international news. You may have heard about it, maybe not. And we're going to start here in the land down under in Australia, where that country granted asylum to Hong Kong pro-democracy activist Ted Hu. He faced prosecution over protests in Hong Kong. Mr. Hu encourages Western nations to grant more asylum requests to pro-democracy people from Hong Kong and China. And what can go wrong here? German reports indicate that China is willing to send a peacekeeping force to Ukraine if there is a ceasefire there, but only under a UN mandate. China, you may recall, is an ally of Russia in this conflict. Some analysts are worrying about an overhaul to the system of taxation in Vietnam. Currently, businesses are assessed taxes based on their estimated revenue, and they pay a lump sum. But reforms would mandate greater record keeping to make the taxation system more fair, they say. Over 2 million households in Vietnam use the lump sum system currently in use versus only 6,000 using the more complicated record keeping system. With many still missing, Pakistan has confirmed that more than 160 Pakistani citizens have perished in flash flooding caused by torrential rainfall in the Kashmir region of that country. And of course, even though the mountainous region has always been prone to monsoon rains and flooding, climate change is being blamed yet again. Facing widespread power and water shortages, some reformers in Iran are urging the raghead mullahs to give in to American demands and cease their nuclear enrichment program and normalize relationships with the West. The response from the mullahs: go to hell. A report out of Finland says that even if the overall economy improves in that country, more than half of those currently out of a job are unemployable. They either lack a reliable work history or they lack the necessary skills for a job. And this is especially acute among those under the age of 30. In other words, there's a lot of lazy young people over in Finland. Now, Lithuania is developing plans to complete a 30-mile ribbon of defenses along its border with Russia and Belarus to repel an invasion. The system will have booby-trapped bridges, minefields, and anti-tank dragon teeth fortifications. And we're glad to see that at least one European country is thinking straight over there. Relations between Poland and Israel hit another snag, this time over a soccer match. Actually, the Poles started the whole thing when fans raised the banner that read, "Israel kills and the world listens." That caused the Israeli fans in a match against the Polish team in Hungary to unfurl the banner shown here, intimating that Poland was complicit in the Holocaust and, by extension, no better than a Nazi. And speaking of Poland, many Poles thought the grass was greener on the other side of the border in Germany. Now, for the first time in 30 years, Poles are starting to move back to Poland, with many of them referring to Germany as a failed state. Also, many gay couples moved out of Poland, but are now finding out that things like food and housing take priority over blowjobs, pussy licking, and anal fucking. Speaking of Germany, the population keeps rising, but it's not only Poles jumping ship. In the first 3 months of 2025, over 93,000 ethnic Germans left the country. In the first 4 months of this year, there have been over 425,000 foreign nationals entering the country. This is a recipe for demographic disaster and the erasure of a German culture. A new poll out of Germany reveals that about 67% of respondents fully expect a member of the anti-immigration AfD party to win a regional premiership by 2026, if not the national leadership. The current center-left Social Democrats are pushing for tax decreases on low-income families. Germany's in trouble. In September 2022, an explosion rocked the Nord Stream pipeline that delivered energy from Russia to Europe. Well, now German officials have arrested a suspect and possible mastermind behind the attack, a Ukrainian national nabbed in Italy. Germany is prosecuting the case because although the pipeline is in Swedish and Danish waters, German equipment was involved in the construction of the pipeline. Lena Coulter, of the German AfD party recently took a Norwegian editorial to task in Oslo. The newspaper criticized the party for being unwelcoming of immigrants and trying to preserve the German language and culture. She rightfully pointed out that no other political party anywhere faces such criticisms. The German Football Association has launched an investigation over two recent alleged racist incidents. In one incident, a fan was identified and ejected. The other involved this guy who plays for Ghana in international competitions. He complained to referees during the game, and no, he is not Jussie Smollett. German police officer is dead after he intervened in a gas station robbery and chased the suspect, who was originally from Turkey. The suspect managed to grab the cop's gun and shoot him multiple times before fleeing. He was eventually apprehended. That's diversity, German style. In December last year, a driver took his car through a Christmas fair in the German city of Magdeburg. Now, Talib A., guess what religion he is being charged with 6 counts of murder and 338 counts of attempted murder. You think? The suspect hails from Saudi Arabia, although we are assured he was not a proponent of Islamic extremism. And it's not just Muslims in Germany who are perverts or horny or whatever. Police are looking for a 31-year-old man from Romania suspected of sexually assaulting a 6-year-old German girl at a popular water park, although not raped. He led the girl to a secluded area and assaulted her. So Romania is a hotbed for gypsies, I'm just saying, I guess what do gypsies and Muslims have in common? They like young girls under the age of 18. All right, wait a second. Back to the Muslims behaving badly in Germany. A 13-year-old suspected of ties to Islamist extremists stabbed a 24-year-old nurse in a psychiatric unit. Surprisingly, despite knowing about the possible violent tendencies of the youth, the unit allowed the perpetrator access to the kitchen, which, unsurprisingly, has knives. In July, this person, who's actually a girl, avoided police surveillance by attacking an officer and getting away. Obviously, was eventually caught and put in a psychiatric unit. Indian businessman was arrested after his plane landed in Zurich, Switzerland, on his way to Belgium. Sitting next to a 15-year-old Swiss girl, he allegedly sexually assaulted her under a blanket. Where were the flight attendants? Playing poker or something? Well, Swiss watchmaker Swatch apologized after they ran an ad where a woman pulled the corner of her eyes, thus upsetting many Chinese people on social media. Swatch, by the way, gets 27% of their business from China and Hong Kong, where, guess what? People have slanted eyes. Austrian police have arrested a migrant from Somalia after he allegedly stabbed 2 Romanian tourists at a train station and then head-butted another victim. One man was stabbed in the neck and the other in the stomach. The Romanians, by the way, are believed to be homeless and alcoholic. Not that it makes a difference, but, Refugees from shithole countries in Austria are being accused of failing German language courses to avoid being placed in low-paying jobs. One woman, an alleged doctor from Syria, is crying that she was placed in a cleaning job because she did not learn German. So here's the deal. You're in Austria. You want to be a nurse in Austria? Learn the fucking language. And this next one just boggles my mind. In Austria, a federal court has ruled that when it comes to at least civil cases, and although incompatible with Austrian values and law, Sharia law is legally binding on the parties. The case arose over repayment of a debt between 2 Muslims and was resolved by a Sharia court. Now, with the blessing of the Austrian courts. Good God. The death toll has reached 6 people killed in wildfires that are blazing across Spain and Portugal. Of course, climate change is being blamed for everything from the wind and hot temperatures in the damn summer. Greta Thunberg said, "How dare you burn the Iberian Peninsula? How dare you?" And speaking of Spain and fires, A 21-year-old dude from Morocco has been arrested and charged with setting fire to a historic church in the Granada region of that country. The socialist mayor of the town called for calm since the attack could stoke tensions, since many citizens of Spain are kind of getting fed up with the Muslims. I mean, yeah, where's Ferdinand and Isabella when you need them? But it's not only Spain and churches. French authorities report that theft against churches in France are on the increase by 24% since last year. That is, people are stealing from them when they're not vandalizing or setting them on fire. This has caused several French churches to lock their doors when they're not in use. But the French are enterprising, if nothing else, when it comes to vacations. 150 cities have received recognition for making their beaches more accessible to the handicapped. Some even provide aquatic wheelchairs. And don't ask me how that works, but it reminds me of a joke. What do you call 4 quadriplegics in a hot tub? Vegetable soup. But Dutch regulators are urging big tech giants like Facebook, TikTok, and X to get on board and let the EU censor their content ahead of Dutch national elections. The voters go to the polls on October 29th, and the regulators want these platforms to censor what they determine to be hate speech or disinformation. Apparently, racist comments directed at African soccer players, by the way, soccer's a gay sport, is not unique to Germany, as officials in Merseyside and Great Britain have opened an investigation after Antoine Semenyo had some comments hurled at him during a game. A fan was ejected, and police may now seek further charges against him. Actually, being kicked out of a soccer game is a reward, so, yeah. I mean, and Jesus Christ, look at this dude. Tell me that doesn't look like an ape. Anyway, it's Christian Quadjovi, technically from France, who was arrested for drug dealing, carrying a concealed knife, and sexual assault in Great Britain. However, a judge recently ruled that he was not a threat to the citizens of the great country of the United Kingdom, even though he has spent 963 days in jail since arriving from France when he was 10 years old. He's now 26. And he's a former official for Asylum Aid, an NGO that bails asylum seekers out of jail after they commit crimes. Recent poll out of England indicates that 90% of respondents support the deportation of migrants accused of any sex crime in Great Britain. More surprisingly, there was strong support for such measures across all political affiliations. That's because an asylum seeker living in a hotel, government expense, near Gatwick Airport, Qas al-Aswad, age 26, is accused of 3 sexual assaults in a 1-week period. I mean, what the fuck? Are all Muslims just fucking horny? Jesus Christ, whack off or something. Man, I guess a judge over there will determine they're not a risk to the country. Meanwhile, this fine-looking young gentleman, obviously not of English stock, broke into the home of an elderly woman in England. And what did the police do? They kindly told him not to do it again and set him on his way. Police are now taking a lot of shit, and rightfully so, from local residents for not arresting the son of a bitch. This is Ian Cameron, a member of Parliament in South Africa. He's being hailed as a hero as he held off an attack by a violent gang in Cape Town by pulling his gun and shooting at them. It was during an attempted carjacking, and Cameron lost his teeth when the bad guys threw a brick through the car window. Toothless and all, they weren't counting on Mr. Cameron having a gun and actually using it. For the first time in history, the battle for president of Bolivia is going down to a runoff. The runoff will be held on October 19th, and also for the first time, there is not a socialist in the mix. Both candidates are considered either right-wing or center-right. In the initial round, the socialist candidate managed only 3.1% of the vote. And it seems that Bolivian voters have had enough of socialism. And finally, in Mexico, police discovered the heads of 6 men on a roadway in central Mexico, an area not known for drug cartel activity. Instead, it appears that the multi-billion-dollar fuel smuggling operations in the region may be behind the severed heads. A blanket with a warning on it was found nearby. So basically, unless it's Mexico City, the Mexican government has lost control of its territory. Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks. Have a great day and a more pleasant tomorrow.